So guys, I think you already know inside generative AI, we use something called large language model. That means LLMs. So LLMs actually have some limitation. You can see the first limitation it is having. So the first limitation you can see, LLM can't answer correctly to the private data. Let's see if we're having any kinds of private data. So that large language model won't be able to give you the answer related that. So if I give you one example, let's say you are having one personal website. Let's say I have one website called Code Commander. Okay, so Code Commander is my website. Now, if you open up your ChatGPT and if you ask related Code Commander, your ChatGPT won't be able to give the answer because ChatGPT trained with older data. That means I think ChatGPT trained around 2021 to 2022 data. Okay, around this year actually they trained this model. After that, actually I created this channel. Okay, so this data is not available inside my ChatGPT knowledge base. That means that time actually this data was not available in the internet. Okay, so you can consider it's a private data, or you can consider any kinds of private data, your private let's say website data, private, let's say your company data, anything. So if you ask any question related to the private data, your model won't be giving you any kinds of response to that, right? Then you can see the second limitation, LLM can't provide the most current information. Let's say if you're asking any question which is like more current, okay, more current, let's say information, your model won't be giving you the answer. Let's say if you ask the question related this Olympic, okay, the current Olympic, it won't be able to give the answer because it hasn't trained with the current information. Okay, so these are the actually limitation we're having with the LLMs. But I want to create an application. That application will be also able to give the answer related to the private data as well as the current information. So how it can be performed? Okay, we can do it with the help of RAG concept. That means Retrieval Augmented Generation. Now let's see how RAG works. So guys, here you can see RAG allows LLMs to use external sources for the better response. That means let's say if you're having any private data, let's say any external documents. So what you can do, you can give that documents to the large language model. How? For this, you just need to use one embedding model. You just need to use one embedding model. With the help of this embedding model, you will just try to generate the vector embedding of the data. The data actually will be giving. And this vector embedding you will be storing to the knowledge base. That means to the vector database. Okay. This is called actually RAG. That means we are using our external documents. We are creating our knowledge base. And to the knowledge base, actually, we are integrating our large language model. Okay. Now, whenever user is asking any kinds of question, okay, whenever user is asking any kind of question to the private data, what it will do, it will go to the knowledge base. Okay, it will go to the knowledge base. Knowledge base will give the response. Okay, the question you are asking, the relevant question you are asking, and your LLM will process that answer as well as the query, and it will give you the correct response. Okay, so this is the complete architecture of RAG. That means Retrieval Augmented Generation. Okay, so with the help of this concept, actually, we can easily use our private data sources or let's say external documents to get the information. Okay, I hope it is clear. That means if you are using RAG concept, it would be more accurate answer on the private data. Stay updated with the new information. Let's say if you're having new information, new data, what you can do, again, you can give that data to the knowledge base. That means you can use embedding model. You can convert those data to the embedding representation. You can store to the knowledge base and you can connect your large language model there. And if you're asking any question related that information, it will give you the answer. Okay, your model will give you the answer. So this is the concept of Retrieval Augmented Generation or RAG. So guys, now let's try to see how RAG works. So as I already told you, whenever you are using RAG, that means you are connecting your external data. That means your private data. Let's say you have connected your private data. Let's say you have connected your website. Okay, you have connected your website. That means from the website itself, it will extract all the information. Let's say you are running one e-commerce site. So user has asked one question, what are your business hours? Okay, now how it will give the response by using your information. So first of all, what it will do, it will try to use something called retriever. So with the help of retriever, it will try to fetch all the information from your website. Okay, all the information it will fetch from the website itself. Then it will perform something called augmentation. So what augmentation will do, it will just try to augment the query. That means whatever question user has asked, okay, and the data actually you are getting after retriever, so it would be actually augmented. That means it will add them together. Okay, let's say the query as well as the data. Then it will pass to the generation. That means to the large language model. Large language model will try to understand the entire data as well as the query user has asked. Okay, and based on that, actually it will provide the answer. So the answer is Monday to Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Okay, so that's how actually RAG works. That means it will use actually three components. One is like retrieval, another is like augmentation, and another is like generation. Okay, that is why it is called Retrieval Augmented Generation. Okay, I hope it is clear now. So guys, I think you got to know what is RAG and how RAG works. Now we'll be discussing about the important concept of RAG, like why RAG is important and why people have started implementing RAG based application. Okay, nowadays. I think I already told you, whenever we are working in the field of generative AI, we are working with the large language model, okay, LLMs. And I told you there are thousands of large language models are available over the market. And see, large language model having some limitation. I think I was talking about the limitation. Okay, what is the limitation and all? So there is another limitation you will get inside large language model called limit of the context window. Context window. Okay. So what does it mean? Limit of the context window. Context window means the input limit. Okay, you can also call it as a input limit. Input token limit. Token limit. Okay, because whatever input you usually pass to the large language model, it would be considered as a token. So let me show you. So there is a website from the OpenAI. So OpenAI tokens. Tokenizer. Okay, I can search OpenAI tokenizer. Now let me open it up. Now simply you can give any kinds of sentence here. Let's say I can copy something. Let's say I will copy my YouTube channel information. So let's say this is my YouTube channel information. Okay, so this is the paragraph I have written. Now you can see that here we are having 147 tokens and 788 characters. Okay, now see, that's how it is considering each and every word as a token. You can see different color. Okay, so this is called actually token. Got it? So whenever you are passing any kinds of input to the large language model, so if I am opening the chat GPT, let's say if I'm opening the chat GPT, so it is taking the input yes or no. In the backend of chat GPT, some model is running. So they're using, I think, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, okay, GPT 4o. So these kinds of model actually they are running in the backend. And whenever you are passing the input, that means you are passing the input to the model. You are giving the input to the model, that means a token to the model. Got it? And how token would be counted? With the help of tokenizer, this token would be counted. So based on the token limit, actually, this model is going to charge you. Now, whenever I'm talking about input token limit, that means the context window. So each of the model is having their specific context window, that means specific input limit. So for this, you can simply go to the OpenAI. Okay, OpenAI models. Okay, OpenAI models. So simply just try to open up this website, and here you will see all the configuration of the model. So let's say I want to see the GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, this model configuration. Either you can also see below. Let's say if I'm talking about this one, GPT 4.0. So this is the model, and you can see the context window. Okay, so see, I think now you got it. What is the context window? Context window means it's the input limit of the model, and how many tokens it can take as an input. It can take that many of token as an input. Okay, so this is the highest input token limit of this particular model. So if you're giving more than that, it won't be working. So it will give you out of token error. Okay, that time it will give you out of token error. And what is the maximum output token? So this is the maximum output token. Okay, now let's consider any older version of the model. So instead of GPT 4o, I'll take let's say GPT 3.5 Turbo. So let's say this is the model. Okay, now you can see this model is having that many of token actually limit. That means 16,385. Okay, that many of token it can take as an input at a time actually, and 4,096 token it can give you as an output. Got it? That means if you are giving any kinds of sentence or paragraph or composition, anything you are giving, so that should be lesser than that many of token. Otherwise, it won't be working. It will give you the input limit error issue, right? So always your input should be lesser than this context. Now see, whatever way actually people usually use these kinds of large language model, this is called actually in context learning. So what is in context learning? In context learning means here you are giving the context, and based on the context you are asking any kinds of question. Let's say I'll show you one example. I'll again copy my channel information. So let's say this is my channel description. Okay, so here I can write my channel name, DS with Bappy. Okay, let's say this is my channel information. So here I can give a prompt like that. Okay, now simply I can give this description as a context to my LLM. So here I can write context. Now here I can ask the question. Okay, so let's say question is tell me about DS with Bappy. Okay, tell me about DS with Bappy. Let's say this is my question. Got it. Now see, if I am giving this particular prompt, so see, if I give this prompt, so it will give me response. Now let's say I will select this response. Let's say I will select this response. Now see, now it is able to give me the answer related DS with Bappy. Now it is telling DS with Bappy is a YouTube channel focused on simplifying and demystifying the complex topics in data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. That means whatever context actually I have given to my LLM, based on the context actually it is giving me the response. Okay, it is giving me the answer. Okay, so this is called actually in context learning, because we know that this kinds of model actually has trained on any specific data. Let's say, I think you know ChatGPT trained on, I think in 2023 till 2023 actually they collected the data from the internet and they trained this model. Okay, now if you're asking something which is, let's say, actually a latest, let's say question, let's say the latest actually information, so sometimes actually this kinds of model won't be giving you the response. Okay, but currently ChatGPT has upgraded their, let's say, application, so they're using something called agents and multi-agents in the backend. So with the help of that they can search the real time through the API request and all. Okay, but whenever I'm talking about actually older ChatGPT, there you will see that it was not actually providing the latest information. So whenever you are asking any kinds of latest question, I think you remember it used to answer like that, I don't have the enough let's say information about that. Got it? I think those who have used the older ChatGPT, they already know about what I'm trying to say. So that time what we used to perform, guys, we used to give the context. So we used to pass the context, and based on the context actually we used to ask the question. Okay, and that's how actually your model will be working. So this is called actually in context learning. So in context learning, we are giving some specific context to the LLM. Based on that, we are asking the question. Got it? And your model will be able to give me the answer with respect to that. But let's say in case your context is very big. So whenever I'm talking about my custom data, I think you know custom data wise we can use any kinds of PDF. So I think you remember I was talking about one open source project, professional open source project from the Llama Index called Sec Insight. So this Sec Insight can take 10 different let's say documents in just one time. See, I can add actually 10 different books. So that's how you can add different kinds of document. Okay, I think see 8 more documents I can add here. That means 10 document. At the same time you can add 10 documents. Okay, it doesn't matter how long your document is, but you can add 10 documents, okay, at a time. And now just try to consider, okay, let's say they're using one model called GPT 3.5 Turbo. And what is the input limit of the GPT 3.5 Turbo? This is the input limit. Okay, 6,385 tokens limit. But whenever I'm giving 10 different actually documents, okay, 10 different documents, 10 different very big documents, that time if you just extract all the data from that documents, okay, and if you count the token, you will see that it would be more than your 6,385 tokens. That time definitely your model will give you error if you're doing this kinds of in context learning. Yes or no? Right? If you're doing this kinds of in context learning, definitely your model will give input limit error. Okay, so for this we will be using something called RAG technique, because I already told you inside RAG what we perform, guys. First of all, we'll be actually creating smaller chunks. Okay, what RAG usually do, it creates the smaller chunks. Let's say here I'm having the custom documents, custom, let's say big document I'm having, big docs. Okay, so first of all what RAG will apply, it will apply the chunk. Okay, chunk. Before chunking, I think it will extract the documents, because if you are uploading any PDF documents, okay, TXT file, first of all it will extract the data. Okay, extract the data. We'll be also doing this thing in a practical way. No need to worry, as of now I'm giving you the like theoretical understanding. We'll also do everything in a practical. I will tell you each and everything, all the components I'll be showing you as a practical. No need to worry. Then after extracting the data, it will create the chunk. Okay, it will create the chunk. Chunk means the small, okay, small part of the document, small part of docs. Okay, so based on the chunk size, it will actually define. Okay, let's say you are giving the chunk size. Let's say chunk size is equal to, let's say, 1000. Okay, 1000. So what will happen? 1000. Okay, 1000 tokens it will consider in a one chunk. Then again it will start from the 1001 token. Then again it will create another chunks, and in this chunks actually 1000 token would be considered. So that's how it will create small chunks. Let's say you are having a bigger document. So let's say what I can do, I can show you one example. I'll copy one specific data. Let's say this is your entire data. Let's say this is a bigger documents you are having. Okay. Now, if you are doing the chunking, that means let's say chunk size is equal to 1000. So it will happen. So it will count like that. So 1000 token, it would be count. I think you know how to count the token. With the help of tokenizer, it will count the token. Okay, see. Okay, it will count 1000 token like that. So after, let's say 1000 token ends here. So this should be considered chunk 1. Okay, chunk 1. Okay, then again, it will start from here. Then again, it will count 1000. Let's say this is the chunk 2. That's how chunk 3 and so on. Okay, that's how it will create multiple chunks. Now, this chunk, it will actually convert to the embedding. Okay, vector embedding with the help of embedding model. There you will be using something called embedding model. Okay, with the help of embedding model, what will happen? It will create the vector embedding. Vector embedding. Vector embedding means this is the numerical representation. That means your data would be in a TXT form. That means text form. But I can't directly pass the text form to my LLM. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to convert it to the numerical representation. Okay, for this we'll be using some embedding model. With the help of that, we'll be creating the vector embedding. Okay, and this vector embedding we usually save in the knowledge base. That means the vector database. Okay, so here actually vector database comes into picture. Vector database. Okay, so because in the vector database you can perform something called semantic search. Semantic search operation you can perform. Okay, which is not available in the traditional vector database. Okay, now what will happen? Let's say user will ask one question. Let's say this is the user will ask one question in the vector database. That means they will ask one question and it will perform something called similarity search, and it will give you some rank results. Okay, ranked results. Okay, rank results. Rank results, it depends upon the k parameter. Let's say k is equal to 3, it will give you 3 relevant answer, 3 relevant most a higher ranking result, and you will be using something called large language model. So you'll pass this rank results to the large language model as well as the query to the large language model. Large language will process, okay, because it has the context right now. This rank result you got, this is the context right now, and the question you are asking, this is another let's say question. That means the same thing I told you. Let's say I'm giving this document. So whenever user asks, let's say, what is DS with Bugp? So what happened actually, it will go to the vector database. Vector database will give me more relevant 3 answer. And this 3 answer I will give the LLM. LLM will process the question as well as the answer, and it will give me the accurate response. Okay, accurate response. So this is called actually RAG. This is the concept of RAG. Okay, that's why RAG comes into picture, because in the RAG you are not directly passing the entire documents to the LLM. So what you are doing, you are creating the separate chunks, small chunks. Okay, that chunks actually we are passing to the LLM. So that's how we can overcome this kinds of input. That means let's say fixed context window array. Okay, let's say you are having millions of billions of, let's say, document size. It doesn't matter. If you're using RAG concept, it will create a smaller chunks, and that particular chunks you can pass to the large language model easily, okay, without facing any kinds of input limit error. I hope now this part is clear why RAG is super important and why people are using RAG, okay, nowadays right now. Because if I'm talking about fine tuning, okay, so fine tuning is more costly task. See, instead of RAG also, you can use your custom data in 2 different ways. Let's say you are having some custom documents. Okay, custom data. Okay, custom data. The data is, let's say, is not available in the pre-trained model. Let's say if I'm talking about my channel information, in this data set, let's say is not available in the GPT 3.5 turbo model, because the model actually they trained that time this data was not available over the internet. Got it? So see, I think my channel information was there because I created my channel 4 years back, but I'm talking about my new channel, let's say Code Commander. Okay, I think you know I am also having one channel called Code Commander. So Code Commander, I recently created this channel, so this channel information doesn't have in the, let's say, model. The model actually we are using. That time we have to give the custom data. If I want to perform the query on top of it, I have to give my custom data. So that time what you can do, if you want to, let's say, use your custom data, you can train model from scratch. Okay, from scratch, you can train one LLM. But this thing you won't be doing because we know that the size of LLM, the complexity of LLM. So training model from scratch, it's not possible, okay, for us. Either you can do something called fine tuning. Okay, what is fine tuning? Fine tuning means you will be using one pre-trained LLM, okay, and on top of it you will be using your custom documents and you'll be fine tuning that. And again, fine tuning is more costly because you will see that LLM actually parameter and the LLM size. So for this you need a good infrastructure. That means you need a good GPU, good CPU, good memory. Then you will be able to fine tune one specific LLM. Again, it's a like cost involvement here because purchasing these kinds of higher configuration machine would be more costly for you. Okay, and there is another technique called RAG. Okay, the RAG actually we have discussed so far. Okay, so you can apply the RAG technique. So inside RAG technique, you don't need to train and fine tune directly. What you can do, you can do this particular operation. That means extract the documents, create a chunks, generate the embeddings, store to the vector database, and this vector database just try to connect with your LLM. That means LLM will consider this vector database. Okay, the vector database, that means the where you have stored your vector, this will consider as a knowledge base. Okay, from the knowledge base itself, it will refer the information. That is whatever question user will ask, it will first of all go to the knowledge base. Okay, knowledge base will return some relevant answer. That answer actually LLM will receive and it will give you the accurate response. So this is the most easiest way and this is the most effective way, okay, we can use our custom data to the large language model. Okay, and there is very less cost involvement here, guys. If you are having poor configuration system also, still you will be able to develop these kinds of application. That's why guys, nowadays all the developers, okay, all the generative AI developers are preferring this RAG technique whenever they are having the custom data. Okay, so in this program, in this course, actually we'll be more focusing on the RAG technique if I want to use my custom documents. Okay, instead of fine tuning and all, because fine tuning wise, I think you already learned. If you haven't learned, I already created actually generative AI course previously. So I already given the reference. I think you remember prerequisite reference. From there you can run like how we can actually do the fine tuning and all. Everything I clarified. But in this program, we'll be more focusing on the practical implementation of our professional level LLM app. Okay, so this is the idea. So yes, guys, this is all about RAG. That means we have learned about the in-context learning, and we have learned about the RAG. Okay, both we have learned. Now, see, whenever you are having any small documents, okay, very small document, which is lesser than the, let's say, your context window, okay, context window, that time you can follow the in-context learning. And if you are having like bigger documents, which is like, let's say more than your context window, that time you can go ahead with the RAG. But this one is the deprecated nowadays. Nobody uses, if you're having the custom data, nobody uses in context learning nowadays because we have the better, let's say, choice, because RAG is so powerful than your in context learning. Okay, so there are some confusion actually between this in context learning and RAG. So people think about in context learning and RAG are same. Okay, no, actually both are not same. So there are some difference, and I already told you the difference. Okay, what is in context learning? You can directly give the context to the LLM. Okay, based on that you can ask the question. But whenever you are having the bigger document, that time you have to follow this architecture. First of all, extract the document, create the chunks, generate the embedding, store to the vector database, connect the LLM with that. This is the idea. Now next, guys, I'll be discussing about the core components of a RAG. Okay, let's say whenever I am implementing the RAG, so what are the components I have to develop? So this I'll try to discuss. So guys, I think you are clear about the RAG, like what exactly the RAGs and why it is important. And I was discussing about like some like basic concept of the RAG concept and all. Okay, so now I'll be discussing about the core component of RAG. Like what are the component actually we have to develop whenever we are getting the RAG based system. So for this, I'll be referring this particular, let's say, diagram. So here I was talking about, first of all, let's see if you're having any custom documents, you have to extract the data from the documents. Let's say here in this case, you can use PDF document, TXT document, okay, then HTML document, any kinds of website, anything you can use. So whenever I'll show you the practical, that time I'll show you, okay, what are the document you can use. So from the document itself, I have to extract the data. Okay, so for this, we'll be using something called data loader component. So let me just write down here. So the first component we usually use called data loader. Okay, data loader inside RAG. Okay, now the second component we have to use this one, chunking. Okay, because I told you it would be a very big document, it would be a very big token. So what you have to do, you have to create a smaller chunks, and to create a smaller chunks, we'll be using something called text splitter. So this is another component inside RAG, text splitter. As of now, no need to worry what is text splitter, what is data loader. I'll discuss each and everything in a practical way. As of now, I'm just writing the component name. As of now, just try to remember. So these are the components that are available inside RAG. But whenever I'll show you the practical, each and everything, I'll show you. No need to worry. Now the third component we're having inside RAG after text splitter called the embedding model, because with the help of embedding model, we'll be creating the vector embedding, yes or no. So that's it. That's why I need the embedding model. Embedding. Okay. Embeddings model. Or you can write vector embedding. Vector embeddings. Okay. Now, fourth component we have inside RAG after embedding. I have to store these are the embedding to the vector database for the similarity search operation. So here you can consider you need vector database. Vector databases. Okay. Then you have something called similarity search. Okay. Similarity search. You can write out similarity search, or you can also write something called retriever. Retriever. Okay. I'll discuss what is retriever in detail. So there are two things you can apply. It's called similarity search. Another is the retriever. Now, next thing, I have to also integrate my LLM with that. So I need the large language model. Okay, LLMs. So yes, so these are the actually core component we'll be using whenever we'll be developing any kinds of RAG based system. Okay, so as of now, just try to remember these are the component we are having inside RAG. I'll show you each and everything in a practical way. So now let's try to discuss what are the challenges we usually face whenever we implement this kinds of RAG based system. So guys, whenever I'm talking about challenges inside RAG, so you will be getting one like very common challenge inside RAG called the optimization. So whatever RAG system you are implementing, at the end you have to optimize that application. Okay. Now to optimize, actually you have to take care about the retriever part as well as the similarity search part, because there are so many ways actually we can perform this retriever operation as well as the similarity search operation. Now let's say in case your application is taking much time to give you the response, that time I can't say this is optimized application, but your application should give the quick response. Let's say if I'm talking about ChatGPT will give you the quick response. Okay, if you're asking any kinds of question. So always we have to take care about the optimization, the way actually we'll be implementing the RAG. So that should be optimized. Okay, always. So yes, these are the challenges actually we usually face whenever you implement the RAG based system and all. In future, we'll be more discussing about it whenever we'll be doing the practical and all. That will show you how we can optimize our RAG based system. So now next actually I'm going to show you how we can select the best actually orchestration framework for developing our professional level LLM powered application, because I told you there are different kinds of orchestration frameworks are available in the market. Now based on what condition you will be selecting the actually best orchestration framework. Now let's try to discuss how we can choose any best orchestration framework for our application development. See, I already told you there are some orchestration frameworks are available right now in the market. Like I was talking about this one. The first one I was talking about the Langchain. Then I was talking about Llama Index. Okay. Then there is another one called OpenAI API. OpenAI API. So OpenAI also created one SDK. Okay. With the help of that, you can also load any kinds of OpenAI model and you can create a simple application, right? Now, whenever you are developing any kinds of professional level LLM application, so how you can choose like orchestration framework, like what would be the best choice for you? Okay, what would be the best choice for your application? So I will discuss some of the point. Based on that, actually you can decide which one actually you'll be using. Because personally, I prefer this one actually, Langchain. Okay, personally, I prefer Langchain. Why Langchain? I'll be talking about. But before that, let me first of all discuss some of the point. See, I think you know inside GenAI, everything is all about large language model. Yes or no? LLM, right? LLM. And in the market, there are thousands of LLM, millions of LLM. Yes or no? Nowadays, I think I showed you one website, OpenLLM. So if you open that GitHub, you'll see thousands of large language models are available. So whether it's a, let's say, GPT model, whether it's a, let's say, Llama model, okay, Llama model, whether it's a, let's say, Gemini model, Falcon model, okay, Mistral model, all kinds of model are available right now. But see, when we didn't have this kinds of orchestration framework, I'm talking about actually old days. So when actually these kinds of LLM came in the market, that time we didn't have this kinds of orchestration framework. So what people used to do, how they used to like, let's say, build an application, they used to use actually individual SDK. What is individual SDK? Let's say when I'm talking about GPT. So who published the GPT? I think you know OpenAI published the GPT. Okay, so that time OpenAI created one SDK called OpenAI API. Okay, OpenAI API. I think you remember, guys. So those who have already used actually older version of the OpenAI, I think you already know. So they created one Python API. With the help of that, you can only access the GPT model. Okay, you can only access the GPT model and you can perform the inference operation. Inference means you can take one input from the user, you can pass to the model, model will give you one output. This output you can showcase. Okay, only these kinds of basics operation people used to perform. But let's say I want to load Llama model. So I can't load the Llama model with the help of OpenAI SDK. It's not possible. Okay, so for Llama model, people used to use another SDK called Llama CPP. Okay, so this is another Python package actually they created. With the help of that, we used to load the Llama model only. Then we used to perform the basics operation like load the like model, take the input. Okay, then pass it to the model. Model will give me the response and I will show the response to the user. So this is the task we used to perform. Then Gemini also came. So I think you know Gemini developed by Google. So Google has also created one package called Google Generative AI. Okay, Google Gen AI. So with the help of Google Gen AI, you can load this Gemini model or whatever, let's say Google having the model like Gemma, okay, or any other model, you can load them. Okay, that means we can only use these are the model with the individual SDK. Okay, only we used to load these are the model with the help of individual SDK. Let's say I want to load the GPT model, I have to use the OpenAI. I have to learn the OpenAI API. If I want to use the Llama model, I have to learn the Llama CPP package. Okay, if I want to load the Gemini model, I have to learn the Google Generative AI package. So just try to consider, let's say you want to learn, use the Falcon model. That time what you have to do, you have to learn the Falcon SDK library. Okay, so that's how if you are using any new model, you have to learn that particular, let's say, library. So it's like very hard task now, because as a developer, how many packages you will be remembering? Okay, it would be a little bit hard for you. Not a little bit, actually, it would be very much hard for you. You can't actually remember all the framework, all the SDK. Okay, so that's why people created these kinds of universal framework. So Langchain is a universal framework. Llama Index also universal framework. Okay, OpenAI is not a universal framework because OpenAI SDK can only load the GPT model, not any other model. Okay, but whenever I'm talking about Langchain and Llama Index, it can load all kinds of model. Okay, whatever model you can see over the internet, whether it's a paid model, whether it's a, let's say, open source model, all kinds of model you can load with the help of this Langchain and Llama Index. Okay, not only that, this Langchain and Llama Index having so many functionality, okay, that you can use to implement Gen AI powered application. Okay, so what kinds of functionality? So it is having different functionality. So it is having something called data loader. Okay, data loader, all kinds of data actually you can load easily. Okay, whether it's a TXT document, PDF document, docs document, HTML documents. Even you can also extract the data from the website. Just give the website link, it will automatically extract for you. Okay, then it is having something called then you can load different LLM. Load LLM. Okay, all kinds of LLM you can load, whether it's a GPT, whether it's a like Llama, Mistral. Okay, anything you can load. You can also connect vector database. You can also connect third-party API. Okay, you can ensure the data privacy. Okay, you can reduce the cost. So that's how I can just write so on. Okay, that's how it is having so many functionality. Okay, so many functionality. This kinds of universal framework will provide you. Okay, so that's why people started using this at the framework instead of using the individual framework, because it's hard to learn actually individual framework. Okay, for different model. So that's why people started learning this Langchain and Llama Index, and these are the framework actually getting so popular nowadays. Okay, and they're also updating, okay, their, let's say, code base. That means they're bringing new actually features in their framework. Okay, in this kinds of orchestration framework. That means nowadays you can entirely orchestrate your Gen AI application with the help of these are the framework. Okay, so Langchain, I think you remember, I was talking about actually in my curriculum, it has published second generation of Langchain. Okay, second generation of Langchain, which is called LCEL. Okay, that means Langchain Expression Language. Okay, now Langchain has updated their code base and they came up with second generation of Langchain, and this is like more easy to use. Okay, then they also published some ecosystem. Okay, like they introduced something called LangSarb. Okay, LangSarb, then LangGraph. Okay, LangGraph. So with the help of LangGraph, you can create multi-agents. Okay, agents and multi-agents. It is also having something called LangSmith. Okay, LangSmith. So LangSarb is for the deployment. You can serve your model. LangGraph you can use for the agents. Okay, agents and multi-agents development. LangSmith you can use for the monitoring your application. Okay, so these are the LLM ops ecosystem they have also, let's say, proposed. Okay, this is called LLM ops. Okay, LLM ops ecosystem they have also proposed, so which is not available inside Llama Index. So Llama Index is also good. Actually you can use this Llama Index to implement RAG based system, because this Llama Index is more focusing on the RAG based system. That means if you want to create a Retrieval Augmented Generation application, that time you can use this Llama Index, because it is having all kinds of functionality. Let's say you want to integrate any kinds of vector database, so you don't need to integrate it actually separately. It is already available inside Llama Index API. Okay, but whenever I'm talking about Langchain, you have to integrate that like let's say vector database separately. Let's say I want to use Pinecone, I have to integrate the Pinecone API separately with the help of Langchain. But Langchain is like more actually powerful and more, actually it is having more feature. Let's say it is having actually chain, different kinds of chain. It is having memory. Okay, what is memory? Memory means, let's say nowadays I think you saw ChatGPT can remember your context. Let's say you are asking one question, then if you're asking anything, it will remember the previous context. That means the previous question and answer. Okay, this is called memory. So this kinds of memory also you can integrate with the help of Langchain. Okay, I'll be discussing more about the Langchain. Langchain is having so many functionality, okay, that you can use to create production grade actually LLM powered application. But if you want to create the RAG based system, that time you can also use the Llama Index. Llama Index is the alternative of Langchain, but it is having less functionality than your Langchain. Okay, but personally I prefer the Langchain, but it's up to you. If you want to use the Llama Index, you can use. If you also want to use the Langchain, you can also use both of them. I will show you. Now it's your choice. Okay, but nowadays most of the industries are using Langchain, because I showed you the Langchain documentation. Even you can open up the Langchain documentation, you will see that so many things they have published. Okay, even so many companies they have started using the Langchain. And there is another orchestration framework I was talking about, the OpenAI. OpenAI is only for the GPT model. If you want to load any kinds of GPT model, that time you can use the OpenAI SDK. And OpenAI actually having very less functionality, so you can't create actually production grade application with the help of OpenAI. Because if you want to create the production grade application, I showed you the architecture, right? So many components we have to integrate, so many components we have to orchestrate. So it is not possible with the help of OpenAI. That's why we'll be using, we'll be more focusing on the Langchain, okay, in this program. So guys, now we'll be starting with our first orchestration framework called Langchain. So first of all, we'll be discussing the overview of the Langchain, then evaluation of the Langchain and the learning path. Because inside Langchain, there are so many components are available. So first of all, I will give you the entire overview, like why Langchain is important whenever we are developing any kinds of GenAI application. So without Langchain, what will happen and all. So each and everything I'll try to discuss. Then we'll be starting with the practical development. So our discussion about Langchain. Okay, Langchain. Okay. So see, first of all, let's try to understand what is Langchain and why it is required. Okay, so without Langchain, I mean, what will happen? So if I'm using any large language model, so what will happen? So can we build any application without Langchain, these kinds of framework? Is it possible to build the application? So first of all, let me, discuss the drawbacks if I'm not having the Langchain. So what would be the issue there? Okay, so see, inside Generative AI, I think you already know. If I write here, inside Generative AI, okay, so what we use, guys, usually, I think you know, we use different tools and technology, right? We use Langchain, we use vector database, then we use large language model, we also use Llama Index, then we also use, let's say, different kinds of web application framework, right? So these are the tools and technology we usually use if I want to implement any kinds of GenAI based product, yes or no, right? Now, whenever I'm talking about large language model, okay, whenever I'm talking about large language model, LLM, okay, LLM. So LLM is also having some limited power, okay. So why I'm talking about limited power, I'll just try to clarify. First of all, let's try to understand how many LLM we are having. Okay, so we are having many APIs, yes or no? Nowadays we are having many LLM APIs. I'm not talking about, let's say, the raw model. I'm talking about the API as of now. Just try to consider API part. So let's say we are having something called OpenAI. Okay, OpenAI API we are having. So OpenAI provides different kinds of large language model. Okay, all the GPT series actually will get here. Then we're also having something called Llama. Okay, Llama is also having their API nowadays. Okay, Llama 2 is there, Llama 3 is there, even Llama 3.1 I think they have also published. Okay, so these are the different model actually they are having. Then apart from that, we're also having something called Mistral. Okay, Mistral. Then I can write, let's say, so on. Okay, so on. That means so many models API we are already having. Okay, so these are what? These are nothing but our large language model, LLM. Okay, these are nothing but our large language model. Okay, now what is the problem? What is the problem? Let's try to understand the problem part. Now, if you see, this LLM is having limited. So here I can write, let's say, limited context. Okay, context window. Yes or no? If you see any kinds of large language model, if you go to their documentation, you will see that it is having one limited context window. What is context window? That means the input limit. So like how many tokens you can pass as an input to that large language model. So this is called actually limited context window. Okay, now there is another problem. You'll see outdated knowledge. So outdated knowledge base. So if I'm talking about ChatGPT, I think mostly October 2023 actually they have taken the data over the internet and they train this particular ChatGPT model. That means this is the outdated knowledge base. Let's say if you ask anything which is relevant to today's actually, let's say, information, let's say current information, right? So latest information, so it won't be able to give you the answer. But nowadays, if you see, ChatGPT has been updated a lot. If you also ask something in the real time, let's say I want some latest news, it will also give you the answer. But how they're giving the answer? They're using something called agents. Okay, they're real time fetching the information. I'll be also discussing the agents. What is agents exactly? With the help of agents, we can connect different kinds of APIs. Okay, so no need to worry. As of now, just try to think about whenever I'm talking about large language model, only large language model. I'm not talking about the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an application, right? And it is using large language model. And what is what are the large language model it is using? GPT series large language model it is using. Okay, so now whenever I'm talking about large language model, definitely it is having outdated knowledge base, because till 2023 October they have taken the data and they train this particular model. Now if you ask anything which is let's say after October, or let's say after 2023, definitely it won't be able to give you the answer. Okay, so that's why we call it as a outdated knowledge base. The next problem you'll see, data privacy. Okay, data privacy. So you can't actually trust any kinds of large language model, because what happens actually, if you, let's say, give your private data, so there is a possibility your data may get leaked actually. So again, it's a data privacy actually problem you will be getting most of the time. Then if I'm talking about the cost, okay, the next one is the cost. Definitely cost is there. So if you are not sure about the, let's say, input token size, if you're not let's say worried about the output token limit, okay, from your large language model, so definitely your cost will increase there. So you also need to take care about the cost whenever you are using any kinds of large language model. And when I'm talking about large language model, we also need a good configuration machine to execute that if you are using any raw large language model, okay, not any API. So API we can directly access with the help of API request, but whenever I'm talking about raw model, that means you are downloading the model and you are executing in your machine. So definitely you should have good machine. Okay, and if you also fine tune, if you also, let's say, train these kinds of model, it will include lots of cost. Okay, at that end of the day. Then the next problem you will see, no connection Just let me write no connection with third party, okay, third party tools. So we see these kinds of large language model doesn't have any connection with third party tools. So third party tools means if I'm talking about any different website, let's say different website, or let's say different any kinds of data sources, it doesn't have any kinds of connection. Okay, now the last one you can write so on again. Okay, that means so many problem you can consider whenever I'm talking about large language model. That means it is having some limited power. Okay, if you see, it is completely having some limited power. Now see, with this limited power, definitely we can't create any kinds of generative AI based application, because whenever I'm talking about generative AI application, so let me just write out. So whenever I'm talking about Gen AI application, Gen AI application, okay, apps. So definitely you need lots of functionality. That means let me just write down some of them. So let's say you need some data functionality. Let's say data in. That means you can input any kinds of data. Let's say you can input TXT data. You can input PDF data. Okay, you can input, let's say, CSV data. You can also input, let's say, SQL data. Okay, you can also input something called XLS data. You can also input HTML data. You can also input PNG data, and so on. Okay, so these kinds of functionality definitely your application should have. That means I can pass any kinds of data. It doesn't matter what kinds of format I'm using. It doesn't matter. I can pass any kinds of data, yes or no, right? So if I'm talking about only large language model, you will see that large language model actually can't take these kinds of data directly. So for this, definitely we have to use some of the external tool, yes or no. Okay, so that's what I'm just talking about. If I want to build any large language model, if I want to build any, let's say, generative AI based application, so I need these are the actually functionality in that application. Okay, so these are the tools and technology I definitely need. Then whenever I'm talking about, let's say, some of the, let's say, actions, okay, actions of your application. So it can perform, let's say, RAG. It can perform, let's say, agents. Okay, it can also give the APIs. It can also format your data. It can manipulate something. Okay, then it can, let's say, transform something. It can store something. It will have some memory. Okay, so that it can remember your conversation. Okay, then it can also connect with third party. Okay, third party tools. Got it? And so on. Okay, then it will also have something called data out. That means it will also give you some kinds of output. I can call it as data out. Okay, and data out wise, what it can do, guys, it can return anything. Okay, any kinds of, let's say, output it can give. So here I can write anything, whether it's a image, whether it's a, let's say, text, whether it's a video, anything it can actually return as an output. Got it? So that's how actually we build any kinds of Gen AI based application. Okay, Gen AI based application. Got it? But if I'm only using, let's say, LLM, large language model, and see, large language model, it's not like that actually. It will come as an individual model. Okay, so it will be published by some of the organizations, some of the company. So let's say I'm talking about OpenAI. Okay, so let's say I'm talking about OpenAI here. So OpenAI is a company, OpenAI is an organization. So if you see, OpenAI is also having their own platform, yes or no? I think you saw. If I search for OpenAI, okay, openai.com. So this is the OpenAI platform. I think you already aware about this particular platform, guys, how to use the OpenAI platform. So OpenAI also give you one Python package. I think you remember, guys, Python package OpenAI also give you. So with the help of that Python package, what you can do, at least you can interact with the model. So it won't be having all kinds of functionality, like to build your generative AI based application, but most of the functionality it will also provide you. Okay, now let's say you have learned this OpenAI framework. It's fine. Let's say you have learned this framework. It's completely fine. Now there is another requirement. You have to use Llama model. Okay, then what you have to do? You can't use OpenAI framework in the Llama model. Okay, you can't ever use that OpenAI framework in the Llama model to load the Llama model. For this, what you have to do? You have to again learn the Llama framework. So Llama is also having their own framework. Okay, from the Meta site. So you also need to learn that particular framework. Okay. Now let's say again you have learned the Llama framework. It's completely fine. Now there is another requirement. You have to use Mistral model. Again, you can't use OpenAI and Llama framework to load the Mistral model. then what you again need to do? Again need to learn the Mistral framework. Okay, that means if I'm talking about different kinds of large language model, so you also need to actually learn different kinds of framework. And again, it's not actually efficient way, because as a developer, how many framework you will be learning, and it's not possible to remember all the framework. So it would be very difficult for us. So can I use only one kinds of, let's say, framework, one kinds of library, and with help of one kinds of library, I can, let's say, load all kinds of model. I can perform all the operation, whatever operation I've written here. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So that is why actually your Langchain comes into picture. Okay, Langchain comes into picture. So Langchain, what they did actually, they created one. Actually, I mean, but I can say they created one common framework actually. So this particular framework can, let's say, I mean, use all kinds of large language model. Not only large language model, all kinds of generative AI service, they can use this particular Langchain framework. That means this is a universal framework. Okay, that means it can support everything. Now you can ask me why we have to choose Langchain. There is another framework in the market called Llama Index. I think you know. Okay, Llama Index. Okay, Llama Index is the alternative of Langchain. So both are good framework. I'm not telling Llama Index is bad, Langchain is good. It's not like that. Both is having actually their different kinds of ability. Okay, I'll be also discussing more about Llama Index later on. As of now, our main intention is to focus on the Langchain, because here, if you see the series actually I'm taking, it is related to the Langchain. Okay, now let's try to understand why Langchain we have to choose. Just try to remove it. So here, let me write why we choose Langchain. Okay, why we choose Langchain. Okay, so what is Langchain? First of all, I already told you Langchain is a orchestration framework. Okay, orchestration framework. Okay, that means it's a complete generative AI framework. So all kinds of orchestration you can perform with the help of Langchain. And inside Langchain, you will see there are different update came nowadays. Okay, so many things they have integrated. Let's say they have integrated LLMOps. Okay, LLMOps technology. That means you will see they are also having ecosystem like LangSmith. Okay, LangSmith very popular nowadays. Then LangSharp. Okay, very popular nowadays. Then we're also having something called LangGraph. So with the help of LangGraph, what we can perform? So this is for actually monitoring. This is for actually deployment. Okay, deployment. And this is for actually agents or multi-agents. Okay, multi-agents. So these are nothing but our LLMOps tool and technology. LLMOps tools and technology. Okay, now if you see, these are the actually ecosystem. So it is built on top of Langchain exactly. If you see all the, let's say, framework, let's say all the LLMOps tool, it is built on top of the Langchain. That means they're using Langchain language only. Okay, they're using Langchain language only to implement these kinds of framework. Now, whenever you are working in the generative AI market, let's say there is a requirement, you have to implement one generative AI application, and there you have to implement one agents. Okay, that means it will have the multi-agents ability. So definitely, you know that if I want to create the multi-agents, okay, multi-agents in my let's say application, what I have to use? I have to use something called LangGraph. Okay, I have to use something called LangGraph. Now LangGraph you can't use with the help of Llama Index. Okay, Llama Index actually doesn't support this LangGraph. That means you can't use it. Then what you have to do? You have to use something called Langchain. So definitely you have to learn the Langchain at the end of the day. Yes. Now let's say you want to create a POC deployment. You want to create an API of your application, and you want to use LangSharp for this. Then what you have to do, guys? Again, you have to learn the Langchain, because Langchain supports this particular LangSharp, right? Then let's say you want to monitor your application. Okay, that time, let's say if you want to use LangSmith, so what you have to use? You have to use the Langchain again. That means if you see here, wherever you go, okay, wherever you go in today's market, at the end of the day, you have to use Langchain only, because Langchain is having all kinds of ability. Okay, all kinds of ability it is having. Okay, there are some alternative as well. Okay, you will also see in the market there are some alternative as well. Let's say LangGraph alternative, you can use something called this one. The alternative of LangGraph, you can use something called Crew AI. Okay, Crew AI. So let me write it. Crew AI. So Crew AI is a framework with the help of you can also create agents and multi-agents. Okay, but again, I'm talking about the complete Langchain ecosystem. Let's say if I'm having something in the Langchain, so definitely you won't be using any third-party, let's say, tools and technology. Okay, because if you're familiar with Langchain, so most of the, let's say, ecosystem you can automatically work with, because the language is same at the end of the day. But if you ask me which one is the better, okay, see, understanding wise, I will suggest you can learn the Crew AI, because Crew AI, you will see the syntax wise, functionality wise, it is like very easy to understand. Let's say with compared to your lang graph. So I will show you some of the example in future maybe. So there you can see with the help of both framework, we'll be creating the agents. But there we will automatically try to understand. Okay, so what is the difference between Crew AI and LangGraph? See, Crew AI at the end, they're also using Langchain. Okay, Langchain in the backend. Okay, Langchain in the backend, and they implemented one high level framework. Okay, for the agents and multi agents. I think you know about, let's say, this one, TensorFlow, guys. I mean, what was the TensorFlow? The previous TensorFlow, I think TensorFlow was separated library, yes or no? But if you see the Keras implementation, internally they're using TensorFlow API only. That means TensorFlow language they're using, and they have created one high level wrapper on top of it. Yes. This is called actually Keras. Then what TensorFlow thought, because Keras got more popularity in the market because of that easy to use, because all the developers started using the Keras. And that time TensorFlow thought actually, can we collaborate with the Keras so that we can bring the Keras in our, let's say, library. That means we can import like that from TensorFlow, import Keras. But previously we used to import Keras like that, import Keras directly, right? So that's why they collaborated, and they actually, they took this particular, let's say, Keras framework in the TensorFlow API. Okay, so the similar wise, so Crew AI is also a library, different library, but at the end of the day, internally they are using Langchain API only. Okay, Langchain language only, but they created one high level wrapper on top of it. Okay, so that whenever you are getting any kinds of agents and multi agents, you can create in a good way. So you don't need to write too much of code. You don't need to do so many configuration. So they have already created some pre-built functionality. With the help of that, you can directly use them, right? But see, whenever I'm talking about Crew AI, so here you don't have like lots of customization option. That means as a developer, you won't be able to customize your, let's say, agents, because it's a high level wrapper at the end. It will give you some functionality, but let's say you need a customization. You have to customize everything. That time what you can do, you can use LangGraph, because LangGraph will provide this kinds of customization ability. So if I'm talking about Windows and Linux, so which is having more customization, guys? Tell me. Definitely inside Linux, because Linux is kinds of open source, and it has actually given me everything, okay, so that I can customize everything here. But whenever I'm talking about Windows, so we are having some certain, let's say, a modification we can perform. Okay, if I'm talking about Windows, Mac OS, so there are some certain operation we can perform. Okay, customization we can perform. But if I'm talking about Linux, everything you can customize. You can even write your own code there. Okay, let's say you don't need this kernel. You can also write your own kernel, and you can use it in the Linux operating system. Okay, so now I think this part is clear, guys. Okay, what is this Crew AI and LangGraph? So now I think you got some understanding why we have to choose the Langchain, because nowadays whatever, let's say, evaluation you can see in the field of generative AI. Okay, so all the, let's say, technology is coming in the Langchain. Okay, very frequently, because they are bringing like so many, let's say, tools and technology for you, so that you can use them to create your generative powered application. Okay, now I think it is clear. That's why we have to choose the Langchain, because it is having all kinds of ability. Now if I'm talking about Langchain evaluation, okay, Langchain also evolved, I think you know, as per your large language model evaluation. So Langchain also evolved. So let's me just discuss about Langchain. Okay, Langchain evaluation. Okay, Langchain evaluation. So see, previously, I think those who have used Langchain, I think you know, Langchain only used to use something called, I think, LLM model. I think inside LLM model, we are having two kinds of model. I think you know, one is completion model. Okay, completion model. And this like chat model. That means if you see from LLM model, that means generation model, completion model. Okay, LLM model. They also, integrated chat model ability in their framework. Okay. Then the second evaluation you can see from Legacy. Okay, from Legacy Langchain to LCEL. That means Langchain expression language. Okay, then they also evolved from LC, okay, Langchain to Langchain ecosystem. They also created ecosystem. Okay, ecosystem means they have created different ecosystem, like I already told you na. So you can see they created Langsmith, Langsharp, Langgraph. Okay, so these are the ecosystem, okay, they created. Then one very interesting thing, even I usually explore a lot, from terrible documentation to, here I will just write ... Okay, why ... Now you can tell me, guys, if you're using Langchain documentation, maybe you will be able to answer me. Okay, so previously if you see the Langchain documentation, it was terrible, right? It was very nasty and I mean terrible. Even it was out of brain for me also. When I started learning Langchain, I was to refer the documentation. It was very hard to understand. Okay, now if you see in today's Langchain also, if you see that documentation, I can't say it's a they created like easy documentation, but again it's hard to understand most of the syntax, because you will see that and they will be writing too much code. Okay, too much code, and if you go to the documentation, definitely will get confused. Okay, like what is happening here? So again I can say it's not a exact actually easy documentation they have created. That's why I've given ... That means still it is terrible for the developer. Yes or no, guys? If you see the like Llama in this documentation, it is easy to understand compared to if I'm talking about this Langchain. Personally, I don't prefer the documentation the way actually they have written the documentation, but compared to actually Langchain, Llama in this documentation is a little bit good. Okay, what I feel like. Okay, yes. Now yeah, so these are the actually evolution actually they did in the field of generative AI. That means first of all, we had actually completion model only inside large language model. Then we switched to the chat model. Okay, so let me show you some of the example of completion model and chat model. So for this, what I can do, maybe I can open the playground, OpenAI playground. See, this is the OpenAI playground. So if you see, this is the playground of the OpenAI. Now below you can see this is the completion. Okay, completion actually playground. So here they're using something called completion model. And what is completion model? You can see these are the completion model. So GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct, GPT 3.5 Turbo Instruct 0914, then Babbage 001 and Divinci 002. Sorry, Babbage 002 and Divinci 002. Okay, so these are the actually completion model. And now what is completion model? See, completion model, here you can't pass any kinds of system prompt. That means you only need to give the user input. Okay, user input. That means you can perform the conversation. Okay, here you can perform the conversation. So here you can, let's say, generate something. Let's say here I can write a poem. Okay, poem for me. Okay, so if I see send the prompt here. Okay, so it is telling, yeah, so not so now it is generating the poem for me. And you'll see that it's a generation model. So here you can't perform any kinds of, let's say, conversation. Okay, conversation actually it's not possible. It's a complete actually generation model you are using. Completion model you are using. Okay, now if I switch to the chat model, see, nowadays all the model, this is a chat model, chat completion model, whatever model you can see nowadays. Let's say new model GPT-4o. See, here is the list of the model: 4B Turbo, 4, 3.5 Turbo. Okay, so these are actually chat completion model. Now if I'm talking about Llama, if I'm talking about Mistral, Falcon, whatever model you can see, so all kinds of model are chat completion models nowadays. That means you can also perform the conversation, and this model can take two kinds of input. One is the system instruction. Okay, system instruction. So here you can specify what kinds of, let's say, task you want to perform with the help of your model. So here I can give any kinds of, let's say, system prompt. Let's say you are an expert. Okay, expert to write poem. Okay, poem. Okay, so you can give any kinds of system prompt here. So let's say I've given this one. Now you can give the user input. So I can write I am very happy today. Please tell me a poem. Okay, poem. Now see if I give it to the model. See, you will get actually a very good response, and you see the response actually we are getting the level with assistant, and whatever input you have given, you are a user. That means you are doing the conversation. Okay, conversation here, and this is called actually chat completion model. Okay, chat completion model. Now let's say you didn't like this particular poem. Now what you can do? I need some. Let's say excitement in this. Now see here, I haven't specified. Okay, I haven't specified this poem I'm talking about. Okay, I just written I need something excitement in this. Okay, and it will automatically understand I'm talking about this particular poem. The poem actually it has given me. So this is called actually conversation. The way we do the conversation with the human, right? Let's say between two person, between three person. The same thing actually they have mimic inside the large language model. That means you can perform the conversation with that. Okay, and you can specify any kinds of system instruction here. Okay, so this is called actually chat completion model. Okay, now I think it is clear what is chat completion model, what is completion model only. Okay, now see, previously whatever large language model we used to use, this was actually completion model, and Langchain only was support. Langchain only I actually created the functionality related to the LLM model. That means the completion model. But nowadays, if you see, they also created the functionality related to the chat model. That means it can also load all kinds of chat model. Okay, all kinds of large language model. Not only completion model, it can also load any kinds of chat model. Okay, then from legacy to LCEL. That means if you see the previous syntax of the Langchain, it was different. Whenever we used to create the chains, we used to use some of the function from the Langchain. But nowadays, they created something called Langchain expression language. Okay, that means instead of using the function, what we can do, we can create a pipe. Okay, I think you can see nowadays people are using pipe. Okay, so people are using pipe. So with the pipe, actually we can create the chains. So we don't need to use any kinds of, let's say, function for any kinds of chains. Okay, I'll also tell you whenever we'll be doing the practical. That time I'll tell you what is the difference between the legacy Langchain and what is the difference between the this one Langchain expression language. Okay, everything I'll try to clarify. Then they created the ecosystem. That means they brought actually different kinds of ecosystem like LangServe, LangSmith. Then they also brought something called I think LangServe. Okay, so these are the ecosystem, and from terrible documentation to, I think I can say again, it's a terrible documentation only for developer like us. Yes or no, guys? Okay, so this is the complete evolution of the Langchain. Now see, one thing you just need to remember. So it is very important, guys. Even I always say this to my student. See, this generative AI space is the fastest evolving space in software industry. Okay, software industry. Okay, so no matter how hard I work, the content will never be 100% okay up to date. Okay, it's not possible. How much hard I work, the content won't be never 100% up to date, because it's like very fastest evolving space in the software. Okay, but here note, okay, note it, but here, but you will be ready. Okay, you will be ready for anything. Let's say if I'm teaching you something, definitely you will be ready for anything. Okay, and I always tell here, I do not give you fish. Okay, here I will teach you. I teach you how to fish. Always try to remember this line, guys, because Let me show you one example. Let's say if I go to the Langchain doc, let's say, package. So if I just search Langchain PyPy, let's open this Langchain PyPy. Now, if you go to the release history, now see the release date actually. Okay, just see the release history. So what is the last update, guys, of the Langchain? It's October 9. Okay, October 9. And tell me, when was the October 9? I think it was yesterday only. Okay, yesterday they updated the version of the Langchain. Now you'll see that the previous update, it was October 4, September 26, September 14, September 12, September 6, September 4. Okay, you will see that very frequent update, very frequent update. Now tell me, if I'm teaching you something, okay, if I'm teaching you something, and let's say after 1 month, definitely there would be so many update in the Langchain. Yes or no? There would be so many update in the Langchain in the Generative AI. Now tell me, is it possible for me to again, create the course? Tell me. No, right? But if you see the actually, concept wise, they're using the same concept, but they're changing some of the syntax. That's it. Okay. Previously, whatever legacy Langchain we used to use, it's completely fine. All kinds of functionality we can use today, but some of the syntax has been changed. Okay. Some syntax has been changed. That means previously we used to use function. Okay. Function to create a change. But nowadays what we do? We create a pipe. We use pipe symbol, okay, to create that particular change right now. And this is called actually LCEL. That means Langchain Expression Language. Okay. Small modification they are doing, but they're releasing so many version, and people are getting confused. Sir, you created this course, you are using older version of the Langchain, so it's not fair. But you just need to try to understand, okay, why we are creating with the older version of the Langchain. Because if you see older version of the Langchain, you will see there some of the version is stable version. That means they have created this version in such a way all kinds of functionalities are available. Okay, because developer are using, it's not possible for the developer to change their version, different version always. But let's say you have created one software. Let's say you created this ChatGPT. Let's say today you have created, after 1 month, again another version of the Langchain will come. So will you again change that code in your code base? Tell me. Again you will change the code in your code base? No, right? So what we'll do, whenever you are creating any kinds of software, first of all, you will try to select one specific, let's say, stable version. Okay, stable version of the framework, and with the help of that, you will be developing the entire, let's say, software. Yes or no? Okay. So that's why whenever I'm teaching you something, I'll be using one specific, let's say, framework. A specific framework, I'll be using some specific version. Okay, because it's not possible. Let's say when I created the content, that time, let's say, I was using this version, but after creating the content, when I started teaching, so they have released so many versions. Again, it's not possible for me to again update my content, right? Yes or no? But if you see, they are not doing, so many major changes here. Small changes they are doing. Sometimes they're bringing some new, let's say, syntax. Sometimes they're bringing some new functionality. That's it. Apart from that, you will see they're using the same legacy Langchain only. Only some of the syntax has been changed. I will do the practical also. That time you will also get it. Okay, some of the functionality they have changed, but apart from that, whatever legacy Langchain you used to use, the same functionality will remain here also. Okay, that's why I always tell this line. Okay, so here, how hard I work, okay, in the field of generative AI, but the content will not be ever 100% up to date because of that. Okay, and here I will see, I'll teach you how to fish, exactly how to learn. Okay, how to learn. Let's say if anything is updating by the framework. Okay, if anything is updating by the framework, or let's say if any new changes is coming, so as a learner, as a developer, definitely you will have the ability to understand, okay, what is coming in that. Okay, so don't always try to rely on your mentor. If you're relying on your mentor, so you ever, it won't be possible for you to be a good developer at the end of the day. You can trust me, guys. Okay, so always you have to learn, okay, learn the concept, like how this concept is being utilized here. Apart from that, if anything is coming in the market, if any new update is coming, you have to, explore that. So always you have to do export, guys. 3 things you have to do: export, okay, export, research, and practice. So these 3 things, if you have, definitely you will be a good developer. you can't solve any kinds of problem statement, trust me guys. So that's why here I do not give you the fish. Here I'll teach you how to fish. That is my main objective. Yeah, so that's why see, whenever we're learning the latest Langchain, it's not like that everything has been changed in that let's say framework. Some of the, let's say, functionality they have changed, some of the, let's say, new syntax they have introduced, but here we'll use the legacy. Okay, still we'll be using the legacy, still we'll be using the legacy Langchain, because still it is using Langchain team is also telling you have to use legacy let's say Langchain still if you want to create any kinds of GenAI application, because we are not able to actually, let's say, change all the framework. That means all the syntax, it is not possible to change. Some of the functionality we brought, but still you have to work with the legacy Langchain. Okay, so whenever I'm talking about, let's say, memory, okay, memory nowadays, let's say when you want to add any memory to the application, you will see that people are still using legacy Langchain actually syntax. That means they're using some function, okay, some function, let's say buffer memory function. They're using some, let's say, window buffer memory function. Still they're using that one, because in the second generation Langchain, these kinds of memory they haven't introduced. Okay, they haven't introduced this kinds of memory kinds of functionality. I think recently they published one I think version. I think they're telling like we integrated actually permanent memory, okay, with this framework. But again, you'll see that they're using the same kinds of things only, okay, at the end. Now let me discuss about the learning path. Learning path, like how we'll be learning this Langchain. Yeah, so first of all, here I already given you the introduction and the overview why Langchain is required and why we'll be using Langchain. Okay, so then next session we'll be discussing about how to talk with LLM with the help of Langchain. That means we'll be using different kinds of large language model. We'll be using OpenAI large language model. Okay, we'll be also using open source large language model. Okay, so all the things we'll be exploring one by one. Okay, then we'll be discussing about how to work with the data, Let's say if you're having any custom data, custom documents, then how you can load these other documents, how we can connect your large language model. That means we'll be discussing about basics of RAG. Okay, basic RAG we'll be discussing here. Okay, then fourth we'll be discussing about something called chains. Okay, chains is the main thing inside Langchain, because at the end you will be creating the chains. It's a step of execution. Nowadays inside Langchain expression language, they introduce something called runnable. Okay, runnable. Okay, runnable. They call it as runnable. Previously we used to call chains. Now you'll be calling as a runnable. Okay. Then I'll be also discussing something called memory. Memory. That means if you want to add any memory, that means if I go to the chat GPT, if I'm asking something, it can remember my conversation. Okay, so these kinds of, let's say, memory, how to add, I will be also teaching you this thing. Then we'll be also discussing about the ecosystem. Okay, ecosystem. That means here we'll be exploring Lang, Smith, Lang, Serve, and Lang graph. Line graph. So these kinds of ecosystem we'll also try to understand. Then once everything we have completed, okay, we'll be also doing some development. That means we'll be implementing some level 1 application. Level 1 application. Okay. Apart from that, in the advance you will see that we are also having something called level 2 application. We are also having something called level 3 application. So this level 3 application is the professional. Okay, professional LLM application. Okay, LLM apps. That means here we'll be using something called full stack development. Okay, full stack development. So these are the actually application level. Okay, and as a generative AI developer, let's say if you want to create a professional application, that time you need to know how to create the level 3 application. Okay, with the full stack development. Okay, so yeah, I think you got the entire learning path, okay, how we can learn this complete Langchain. And apart from that, you don't have anything inside Langchain, okay. So guys, here you can see I already prepared one code example of the RAG demo. So first of all, we'll try to understand this Jupyter notebook file. Then I will also show you how we can create a user application, that means app, let's say Streamlit app, how we can create it, okay. So for this, what you have to do, guys, first of all, you have to install, these are the requirements, and this code would be shared, guys, in the resources section. From there you can download. And I already told you how to create a virtual environment. So to create the virtual environment, you have to execute this command. So conda create -n. You have to give the name. Let's say here I have given OpenAI demo. You can give any kinds of name. Let's say I will give test, then Python is equal to 3.10. Okay, 3.10, then -y. So this is the command you have to execute, and make sure you are using Python 3.10. Okay, so for me, I already created. I'm not going to create again. Then after that, you have to activate it. That means conda activate your environment name. Okay, then you have to install this requirements. Just write pip install. Okay, -r requirement.txt. Fine. Now if I see press enter, it will install all the requirements I'm having in the requirements file. You can see inside requirements file, I'm installing Langchain, Langchain community, Langchain OpenAI, Python.emb, Streamlit. Okay, so these are the actually dependency packets you have to install one by one. So for me, I already installed each and everything, you can see. Then after that, just open this notebook, RAG demo notebook, and try to select the environment. So let's say I have created this environment, OpenAI demo, I'll select it. Now see, now if I execute the first line, see, it is working fine. There is no error. Okay, that means it is working fine. So guys, in this experiment, I'm going to use one website. Okay, that means as a private data, as a let's say external data, we'll be using website. So from the website itself, we'll be collecting the data. On top of that, actually, we'll be implementing this RAG application. So you can see this is the website URL. Now let me open this URL. So this is the URL of the website. So this is the entire website, guys. You can see. So they have given different information. So now I just collected some of the more page. Let me show you. So this is another page. This is the index page, and this is the contact page. Okay, now let me open them. See, this is the index page, this is the contact page. So you can see, guys, this is the index one and this is the contact one. Okay, so that's how actually you can use any kinds of website. I'm using this website. For you, you can use your, let's say, personal website. You can use your, let's say, private website, your official website, anything you can use. Even I will also show you how we can use any other format. Let's say how we can use PDF documents. Okay, these are the things I will also tell you. So this is the website data actually I'll be using. Now to load this website, I'll be using something called unstructured URL loader, and this is available inside Langchain. Okay, you can see I'm importing this unstructured URL loader. Now this is the URL list. So if you're having multiple URL, you can create a list, and this list you can pass to this function, and this function will give you one loader object. Now you can call loader.load and it will extract the data. Let me show you. So if I execute this line, now see, it is extracting all the information from the website itself. So extraction is done. Now if I show you the data, now you can see it has extracted all the information. Now why 3 documents is coming? Because here I was using 3 URL. Okay, 3 different actually pages. Okay, that's why it is coming 3 documents. Okay, now what I have to do, guys, I think you remember we have to perform something called chunking operation. So for this we can use recursive character text splitter. Either we can use character text splitter, either you can also use token text splitter. Okay, so here I'm using recursive character text splitter. So here chunk size is equal to, I have given 1000. That means 1000 word would be considered as my 1 chunks. So let me create the chunks and let me show you the chunk size. Okay, you can see 11 chunks it has created. Okay, now if you want to see the first one, so you can see this is the first chunks and this is the URL it is referring. Now I think you remember, after extracting your data, that means documents, you have to use one embedding model and you have to generate vector embedding, and that vector embedding will be stored into the vector database. Okay, any kinds of vector database you can use. So I have already showed you like multiple vector database, like we can use ChromaDB, Pinecone, Web8. Okay, Files, you can use any of the vector database. So here I'm going to use something called ChromaDB vector database. Okay, ChromaDB is a local vector database. Fine. So guys, you can see I'm importing Chroma from the Langchain itself, because inside Langchain this ChromaDB is available. Then I'm importing one embedding model. So here I'm using OpenAI embedding model. Okay, OpenAI embedding model. You can also use any open source embedding model. I'll also tell you okay how we can do it. Then I'm also importing OpenAI. That means I'm going to use OpenAI large language model. So let me import all of the package. And now if I want to use OpenAI, what I have to do, I have to set my environment. Okay, environment variable. So OpenAI API key, you have to pass your API key. So just try to create one API key and try to pass here. Then let's load this API key with the help of load env package. Then after that, I'm going to initialize my ChromaDB vector database. Okay, so you can see I'm going to pass my documents here, the documents I'm getting. Even I'm also passing my embedding model. So it will give me the vector store, entire vector store. That means this is going to be my knowledge base. Okay, see, this is my knowledge base right now. Now here you can perform something called semantic search operation. Okay, similarity search operation. So let me show you one example. So vector store as retriever. I want to perform similarity search operation. Search keywords, that means how many, let's say, result it will return. So here I've given 3. That means after searching, it will give me 3 relevant answer. Okay, let me show you. So let me create the retriever object. Now here I'm asking one question, what kinds of service they provide. Okay, this website, let's say I'm asking one question. Now if I perform the invoke operation, see, it will give you 3 results. Okay, 3 results actually it will give you. So let me show you. See, it has given you 3 relevant information, and from where it is referring, it has also given the URL, and you can see the 3 relevant information. But what I need the actual response. Okay, this question I have asked, but what kinds of service they provide. I need the actual response. I don't need this kinds of response. Okay, for this, what I have to do, I have to connect my large language model. I think you remember. So here I have to connect my large language model. Okay, then user will ask the query. So it will process the query as well as the relevant, let's say, answer will be getting from the vector database. Then your LLM will give the actual response. Okay, so now let's try to see how we can perform it. Now, if you want to see the page content, okay, the, let's say, result you are getting, if you want to see the contents, what you can do, you can call this one page content. Okay, I want to see the first, let's say, answer page content. So this is the entire page content, you can see. Fine. Now here I'm initializing my large language model. I think you know what is temperature parameter, what is max token parameter. Now here you can see I have created one chain. Okay, create retrieval chain. So this will give me the chain object. That means I can connect my large language model as well as the vector database. Okay, then I'm also going to pass one prompt. Okay, system prompt, and for this I'm going to use prompt template. Okay, I think you remember we can also create the prompt template. So this is the prompt I have created, guys. You can see you are an assistant for the question answering task. Use the following piece of retrieved context to answer the question. If you don't know the answer, say that you don't know, use 3 sentence maximum to keep the answer concise. You can also change the prompt, it's up to you, but I will use this prompt. Okay, it will take the context and it will give you the answer. Now for this I'm going to create a prompt template first of all. So here I've created the prompt template. This is going to be my system prompt, and user will give the input. Okay, whatever input actually user will ask, let's say this is the input user will ask. Okay, this input actually it will come here. Okay, and it will create the complete prompt that time. Now let me initialize the prompt. Now here I'm going to create the chain. So I'm using create stop document chain. So this is the function actually I'm using, because I already told you inside Langchain actually we are having different chains, right? Now here I'm passing my LLM as well as the prompt. Then again, what you have to do, you have to call another function create retrieval chain. Okay, so inside that you have to give your vector database. Okay, the vector database you have created, that means your knowledge base, and you have to give the this object, your question answer chain. Okay, this object actually you have to give. Now it will give you the entire rag chain. Now here you can ask any kinds of questions. So here I am calling this rag chain invoke, and this is the input, what kinds of service they provide, and I'm only extracting the answer. Now see, if I show you the answer right now, see, this should be the concise answer. That means the accurate answer actually it will try to provide. Now see, Victoria on Move provides efficient and careful relocation services for the apartment, village, householders. Okay, see, blah blah blah. That means it is giving me the correct information right now. Okay, so this is called actually RAG system. Now it is referring my private data, my external data. On top of that, actually it is giving me the answer. And if you ask this question to the ChatGPT won't be able to give the answer, because ChatGPT hasn't trained with this data. Okay, I think you are getting my point. Now let's try to see how we can create a user app. Okay, so what I've done, I've created another file called app.py, and whatever code I have written, okay, cell by cell, I just copy pasted and I just created like that. In this particular dot file, you can see I've imported all the library. I'm loading my, let's say, secret keys, that means OpenAI API keys. Then I'm giving the URL, I'm extracting the data, I'm creating that means chunks. Okay, then I'm creating the vector store. I'm initializing my large language model. Then I'm using Streamlit. You can see ST. Then I'm initializing my prompt. So you can see this is the prompt. And now if user is asking any query, this query actually I'm passing here, and it is giving me the response. That response actually I'm showing on the Streamlit application. Okay, now let me execute and let me show you how this app will look like. So for this, you can execute one command called Streamlit run app.py. Okay, now see, if I execute the command, so it will open up my application. Now see, this is the title. I think you saw that st.title we have written here. See, rag demo, and this title will show in the search bar. You can see this is the search bar, because here I'm taking chat input now. So you can see this is the chat input. Here it will show the message. Now you can change the message as per your requirement. Now let me ask one query. So I'll ask the same query. So I'll copy this query, and here I can ask. You can go to the website and you can ask any kinds of query. It's up to you. So guys, as you can see, it has given me the response. Victoria Move provides range of services including apartment moving, villa moving, okay, and so on. That means it is working fine right now. You can ask any kinds of question, guys. Any kinds of question you can ask, whatever actually information you are having in this website. Fine. So yes, guys, this is the RAG demo, and that's how we can create a RAG. Going forward, we'll be also learning some advanced RAG. We'll be, let's say, creating hybrid RAG and all. Okay, going forward, we'll be learning. These are some advanced RAG application you can also create. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.